How do I stay so positive regardless of my situation? Now, I'll start this off by saying I'm not always positive about what's going on. My lifestyle takes a big toll on me mentally and physically. Living in a wheelchair is not an easy task, and when you add the chronic pain on top of it, it really wears down on you. In the beginning of me becoming paralyzed and my original diagnosis being Guillain-Barré syndrome, they told me that I was probably going to be walking out of the hospital within 3 to 5 months. That a lot of people that get GBS, they have a big onset reaction and then they recover pretty quickly, and a lot of people will walk out of the hospital give or take 3 to 5 months depending on how severe your nerve damage is. So from the start, I had some hope. I was doing a lot of research online, had a lot of time to kind of look up what was going on with me and learn as much as I possibly can about my autoimmune disease and other autoimmune diseases, because we weren't 100% sure, was this Guillain-Barré syndrome, was it West Nile, what was it Lyme disease? We weren't 100% sure, but we were leaning in the direction of Guillain-Barré syndrome, waiting for a lot of tests to come back. So I had it in my mind that I was going to walk and I was going to be okay. At the time, I was paralyzed from around the chest down, just underneath my chest down, and my arms couldn't move, couldn't feel or move my arms or shoulders or anything like that. And I was just praying that what they had told me was legit and that I was gonna walk out in 3 to 5 months. And every 2 to 3 days that went by, I did notice little bits of recovery. Maybe I could move my shoulder, I could move a finger, or kind of lift my arm up a little bit. For a long time, I couldn't move my arms. I was stuck like this. For some reason, I kept my hands like this, and I couldn't move. But I had all this hope after all the neurologists and the doctors telling me that Guillain-Barré syndrome has a high success rate and your prognosis is looking good. With Guillain-Barré syndrome, we kind of had a timeline to give me an idea of what my recovery was going to be like within the 3 to 5 month period. With West Nile and with Lyme disease, it is so up in the air, and they're really tough autoimmune diseases to deal with. Not that mine isn't, but it's a different ball game when it comes to those. So when we got the test results back saying that I didn't have Lyme disease and I didn't have West Nile, there was a bit of sigh of relief, and we could focus on GBS and what was going on with me, because there's different variants of GBS depending on the level of injury or the severity of your nerve damage. It can be less debilitating than others, or you could be totally incapacitated. And I ended up drawing that middle line, that middle card. So if we fast forward about 4 months, we were around that time where it's like, look, man, this is your recovery. And at that time, I only had my hands, barely. I couldn't feel my hands. We were 4 months deep in the hospital stay, and I was pretty defeated, to say the least. At that 4 month marker time, I still didn't have very good core movement. I couldn't hold myself up, couldn't move my hands or feel them at all. Maybe I would have a finger or two that could help me move the one arm over. If it fell, I could pick it up and put it back on my lap. There was a lot of growing and healing and trying to figure out what my new normal was going to be, but I had it in my mind that I still had 1 month left. There was 4 months down, I still had 1 month left of my 3 to 5 month recovery, and that I was going to walk out of there somehow, some way. I really truly believed that. That was not the case. What ended up happening was around that 4.5 month marker, 5 month marker, I had been transferred to the Hamilton Health Sciences program, where they had an amazing spinal rehabilitation program, and I got to really focus on what this new normal was going to be, even though I didn't believe it. A lot of people were leaning towards the fact that this was going to be my recovery, and then I got the new test results back. So when I moved to that new hospital, they wanted to redo all my tests, CT scans, blood work, MRIs, all that stuff. They had better equipment, and they wanted to kind of do it on their end, and they did, and they found a a lot more than the past hospital found. They ended up finding out that I had a lesion on my back, on my spinal cord, just an inflammation lesion, but it was big enough to cause a good amount of damage from T6 to T9, which was preventing the rest of my recovery. That was when they sat me down and made me realize that this was gonna be my true new normal, and anything I do get, I'm lucky to get. We're 5 months deep, and this is your timeline, right? And you need to get stronger or you're gonna fail out in the real world. It's not easy out there. You're not taken care of like you are in the hospital. There is a bit of a shock, almost similar to when someone spends a lot of time incarcerated. You get used to the system, you get used to a schedule, and just the same people or meals or workout plans, whatever it might be, you get used to that. And then when you get sent out to the outside world, it's a culture shock. It really truly is. And I gotta be honest, I still didn't believe them. I was having small bits of recovery here and there. I'd be able to feel a part of my finger here and a part of my hand there. Just little things like that gave me so much hope. And I ended up waiting until about 6 months before I accepted the fact that I was never gonna walk again. And that kind of killed me because I held on to my townhouse. I had this beautiful house on the lake with a friend of mine, and my bathroom and my bedroom were upstairs. And I was holding on to the fact that I was gonna go back home with my dog, and all the cards were not in my favor there. Even if I decided to go back there, I would never be able to go upstairs. Nothing was downstairs, just the living room and the kitchen. So it killed me to not go back to that. And it was a very, very small condensed amount of time where it was like, look, Brandon, you're about to be discharged in 3 weeks. You don't have a place to go to. You can't get into your house. You've waited too long. You got to face facts. You got to accept reality and the fact that you aren't going to walk again. You had to adapt to that. It just killed me because throughout that time, I had so many people, specialists and neurologists and neurosurgeons telling me just a positive prognosis on Guillain-Barré syndrome. And regardless of the variant, I probably was going to have a good outcome from all this. So I really listened to that, and I held on to these people saying this. And I think that I also kind of drilled it down their throat, like, am I gonna walk again? Am I gonna walk again? Like, I wouldn't accept just, well, you might walk a little bit, or you might never walk, or you might have a cane. I would never accept it like a beat around the bush answer. I just wanted yes or no, and I think that that's what killed me. I think the people that were working with me were like, this guy needs an answer, and he doesn't want to take no for an answer, so I guess we'll just tell him good stuff. And I don't know if that's... Maybe they believed it to an extent because I had Guillain-Barré syndrome and people do recover from that, and I'm assuming they were hoping the best. They were realistic with me in the fact that, like, you might not, but, like, it seems like you're doing well. It seems like you're on the right track. So I think that that's what a lot of... I held on to a lot of that good, positive energy that they brought, and I kind of set aside the realism of it all. That would be the bad news, and I'm never gonna walk. So once I finally accepted the fact that I was never gonna walk again, I couldn't go back to my place, couldn't go back to work. It took a long time. It took, honestly, years before I got my head out of my ass. I was living in this apartment and just eating cookies and ice caps and sleeping and just sad and in pain and not really accepting my life for what it was. And to me, it felt like there was a pause button hit. To me, it felt like every day that went by wasn't actually going by. I couldn't tell between dreams and reality sometimes. Everything just molded into one, and I just wasn't happy. I wasn't good. I wasn't in the right mindset. I was on a lot of medication, trying to figure out what's going on with my pain, because I'm still in pain 24/7 a day, and that happens up until this moment in time. Right here, right now, I'm in pain as I talk to you, which kind of, it really hurts that whole how do you stay positive thing. Well, it's not as easy as I portray it to be. After a couple years had went by, I got to find out who my real friends and family were in the most unnecessary ways possible, but at the same time it was like a blessing in disguise, to where, well, if this person isn't going to want to deal with this in my tough times, what the fuck is the point of them being a part of my life in the good times, right? Very cliche when people say that, if you can't accept me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best, but that was very true. There was a lot of people that, they blew my mind. A lot of people blew my mind in the fact that, or in the sense that they didn't really care, if that makes any sense. They were there for like that big original injury side of things, and then once I was out and about in the world and actually really needed help, they were non-existent. So that was a part of the whole growing process. Since coming out of that fog, after those couple years there, I've been paralyzed for 7 years, and I'd say I've been living my life properly for about 3. I'd say I'm living my life for about 3 years, maybe 4, with happiness and with confidence and knowing that this life is livable. But there are so many days that hold me back. There are so many days where my paralysis kind of brings me down if I can't physically do something. Maybe some days that affects me more than others, but there's always tomorrow, and there's always other ways to go about doing things. When you surround yourself with the right people that are willing to adapt with you, whether it be helping you in certain scenarios or cheering you on while you're trying something new, it's important to have a good support system, and I think that that's the biggest part of why I'm able to be positive. My family and friends and the people that love me are incredible, and they're the whole reason why I'm able to get up in the morning and smile through this pain, through this paralysis. I know that I'm loved, and I don't want to leave these people behind. Y'all need me. I appreciate you guys. Thank you guys so much for everything you guys do, all the support and just the kind words that you guys give me. If there's any other questions I can answer, or any stories I can tell, I'd be grateful to do that for you guys.